Hi there, I'm Vincent Bos, and I'm a life coach, relationship coach, and breakup coach. You can change the language of this podcast in the YouTube video settings. And in today's podcast, we're going to be discussing when your ex feels you're indifferent. I provide audio coaching for breakup recovery, trying to get an ex back, attracting someone new, and life coaching. Visit www.dateme.tips for more details. Please check your spam and junk folders if you are expecting an email from me. Subscribe to my weekly support emails. The link is in the description. So now let's get back into today's podcast. And today we are discussing when your ex feels you're indifferent. So if you have been dumped and want to try to get your ex back, it can be difficult to play it cool, but you must. In today's podcast, I'll be discussing 3 points to consider regarding when your ex feels you're indifferent. So let's get straight into this, and point number 1 is the opposite of love. Now let me know in the comments if you feel cool, calm and collected since your breakup. Let me know in the comments and let's see what the community thinks. And point number 1 is the opposite of love. And this is really important to understand because when people consider the opposite of love, they generally and quite naturally think it's something along the lines of hate or dislike. So for instance, your breakup sadly took place. Maybe during the breakup, emotions were running high, and maybe your now ex-dumper said some really cruel things. They may have even said, "I hate you." Now, of course, I can't definitively tell you exactly the hidden meaning behind any words somebody might say, and occasionally things might be exactly as they say on the tin. But generally speaking, when we consider the opposite of love, it is not hate, certainly not delivered in the way I've just suggested there, during an argument which is emotionally heated, through a breakup or whatnot. So when we think, okay, well, if hate isn't the opposite of love, then what is? Well, that is actually indifference. So indifference is the opposite of love. It isn't hate. So when we consider you wanting to get your ex back after being dumped, what we are in essence saying is that you need to try and behave in a cool, calm and collected way, which could be represented as feeling indifference towards your ex. You are not too worried if you see them or not. You're not too bothered if they say hello or not. If you're walking by, you're going to stay exactly as relaxed and positive and thinking about what you've got to do as ever. You're not going to be wavered. You're not going to be knocked sideways by any of your ex's behavior. Now, this might be, as I've suggested, maybe you actually physically see each other, and whether or not they acknowledge you or not, or perhaps you have been in no contact already for many, many months. You are worried you will never hear from them again, and yet you start to think, well, maybe I'm just going to type my feelings online, just kind of get out there how I'm feeling, and I'm not feeling good. I'm feeling very frustrated about my dumper. I'm feeling upset. Now, listen, if you want to release your emotion, that is a very healthy thing to do. And you should be speaking with friends, family, a counsellor perhaps, a local doctor. Maybe you want to speak with me via my audio coaching calls. However, I do not suggest you put things out into the public domain, such as social media. Yes, speak with people, but don't just put it out there for anybody to see. Because if your ex-dumper sees and reads what you're putting, they're not likely to be romantically, emotionally attracted to you saying that you are feeling either very angry towards them or very upset. They might possibly feel worried and concerned. Maybe they might even message you, but that is not going to be because they miss you in a romantic way. So it's not going to help you get them back. So please, if you are in need of conversation, you must have it. Wherever you live in the world, there is likely a phone line you can phone if you need some emergency support. But if you feel that it's not necessarily an emergency, but you just want to have a conversation, Friends and family who are not directly connected to your ex are obviously a good option. But then you have a local doctor, local counsellor. Like I said, you might want to speak with me via my audio coaching calls. But when we think, okay, well, we're not going to be putting out our emotions in that way, well, what does that do to our ex-dumper? Because if you are not putting things out there, if you are walking by your dumper in the street and you're not looking over to them with teary eyes and you're not running over and screaming and shouting, if you were just staying that cool, calm and collected, then in essence, you are showing that indifference. You're showing that you are okay with your ex-dumper, perhaps talking to you, but you're also okay if they don't. So whether this is you just trying to restrain yourself from posting overly emotional things online and instead actually posting positive things that you're doing with your life, moving forward, achieving goals, living your life in the best way possible, you're doing that. Or if you do actually see your ex-dumper, you're just staying relaxed in whatever way it is. That is coming across as indifferent. That is showing indifference to your ex-dumper. And as we've said, that is the opposite of love. And you might think, well, I don't want to show the opposite of love. I want my dumper to know that I love them. Well, what I would say to that suggestion is that they likely have always known this. They've likely always known that you love them. And sadly, you're not back together. So you shouldn't be replicating behaviour which is not helping you. If your ex-dumper knows full well you love them, which I believe they probably do at this stage, and they are not wanting to get back together with you, then that shows that that strategy is not working. And although there is no guaranteed way to get your ex back, there are certain things we can do to increase our chance of success. And living your life in a way where you showcase indifference towards your dumper is absolutely going to increase your chances of success. Because if they don't believe you love them, if they actually start to think, wait a minute, this indifference is really starting to pull on me. I'm starting to think my dumpee actually doesn't love me anymore. That is the only moment they are going to be knocked off centre. Remember what I said a little bit earlier today about how you shouldn't be knocked off centre if you were to see your ex out and about. Well, if you behave in a way that they don't expect, where you're focusing on you rather than them, that is likely to knock them. So this is where they can start to feel a little bit unsteady because they don't really know what's going on. They've always got you as that safety net, as that safety blanket, and now they don't. You're not really that bothered. You're not being rude. And like I have said throughout this, the opposite of love is indifference. It's not hate. If you start shouting around at your ex-dumper, not only is that behaviour going to turn somebody off and make them want to go even further away from you than they already are currently, but also they're probably going to know deep down, but it's coming from a place of passion, a place that actually you do still love them. So it's going to annoy them, it's probably going to frustrate and upset and make them angry, but also it's not going to be convincing them that you are quote unquote moving on. They're not going to fall for that trick that you might be trying to play on them. So acting in an indifferent way is absolutely going to increase your chance of success, and that is because it is the opposite of love. So now let's get into point number 2 and the second point of today's podcast. Please like and hype this video. If you like my content, subscribe to the channel to keep updated. And point number 2 is see through their mask. So today we're speaking about when your ex feels you're indifferent and about what they might actually do in almost retaliation for this behaviour that you're showcasing. And one of the things they might do is actually start acting indifferent themselves. Now you might think, well, they've always been acting indifferent. As soon as we ended a relationship, I've not really heard from them. Okay, you haven't heard from them, but maybe you haven't really seen anything about their life. Maybe you just didn't really know what was going on with them, but ever since you have behaved in an indifferent way, ever since you bumped into each other and you smiled, said hi and kept going where you were going, you didn't seem angry, you didn't seem overly happy, you didn't seem emotional, ever since that took place, or maybe ever since you posted a story online about how you're living your best life, guess what? Coincidentally, your ex-dumper is now posting similar stories. Your ex-dumper is now uploading photos of them out and about with different people that you don't recognise, that you are now worried is about their new boyfriend, their new girlfriend. Why is my dumper now behaving in a crazy and erratic way? Are they going out and getting a tattoo? They never had a tattoo before. Why are they doing this now? Well, often what you will see is that when you behave in an indifferent way, your ex-dumper will fight fire with fire by trying to do the same to you, but they're going to try and up the ante. So, as I said, you might think, well, they've been indifferent anyway. But if you believe that to be the case, if they get a feeling that you are no longer their safety net, they might start to up the ante. They might start to behave in a way which is almost trying to suggest, hey, you might be doing your thing, but guess what? I'm doing my thing 10x. I'm doing this 10 times better than whatever you're doing. And it might sound silly, and I'm not even suggesting that it's necessarily conscious. Sometimes this is a subconscious reaction, but nevertheless, it is often a reaction, and something that as a dumpee, you need to see through their mask. And that's what point number 2 is all about. You need to make sure that you don't get knocked sideways. We've been using that phrase a lot today, but it's true. If you have been cool, calm and collected in recent days, weeks and months, and now your ex has started to up the ante, you might then start to feel very uneasy. Okay, now I'm starting to wobble, but you can't. You've got to stay on track. I mean, think of the alternative. If you start to fall and crumble and reach out to your dumper, begging, pleading, saying, I'm sorry, you saw me post, but I was having a nice day. I wasn't really. I was thinking of you. If you were to do something like that, it is going to really lower your value to your ex-dumper. It's not going to be something which makes them think of you in a more romantic way. Now, of course, there are always caveats to the rules. If you have a legitimate thing that you need to apologise for, then obviously you should do that. But again, you should only be doing it for once. Again, every situation is unique. This is a generalised concept that we are talking about. But most of the time, if you have been dumped, you should never contact your ex again unless they contact you first. You should be focusing on you, not them. You shouldn't be waiting around for them. You shouldn't be chasing them in a physical or metaphorical sense. You shouldn't be living your life where all you do is focus on what they are doing rather than what you should be doing. So most of the time, focusing on you, representing yourself as not bothered what your ex is doing because I'm doing my thing, that is generally going to be your best course of action. And if you do this and then your ex-dumper starts trying to one-up you in what they are now doing, you must try and maintain that cool, calm and collected mentality that we've been speaking about today. Because if you don't, and if you crumble at that stage, you're very unlikely to get your ex back. This isn't going to just magically create a situation where they now want to come back to you. You have done nothing wrong. And just because they are now trying to shake you, you need to try and stay as calm and relaxed as possible, focusing on you rather than them. Now, if you would like advice and support about how to try and increase the chance of one day getting your ex back, then you may want to consider my audio coaching service, where me and you can speak one-on-one about your unique specific situation. This is the best and diamond level of support that I can provide. Go to my website www.dateme.tips for more information about how I can become your coach and your teammate via my audio coaching service. Talking about your feelings can also improve your mental health. It helps prevent the buildup of negative emotions, which can lead to stress, anxiety, depression, and even physical health issues. Speak your heart to free your mind. So now let's get into point number 3 and the final point of today's podcast. If you feel that this podcast has helped you, then please consider buying me a coffee. The link to do so is in the description. And point number 3 is it takes time. So today we've been speaking about when your ex feels you're indifferent and what this actually means. But we've got to recognise that this is not likely to happen very, very suddenly. Now, occasionally, that might actually be the case. If you do bump into each other, you behave in a certain way, they behave in a certain way, maybe that possibly could trigger an instant reaction from your dumper. But most of the time, this is going to have to be a prolonged showcasing of your indifference. And remember, the end goal of this is for you to find your own happiness. If you get your ex back and you want that, then great. But even if you want them back or don't want them back, if you live your life in the right way, you can find someone even better. So this is about you, not them. But if we want to try and reel our ex-dumper in to try and reconnect with them, this is going to take time. Yes, they might behave in a way which seems instantaneous, so they've seen you or they've seen a social media post or whatever it might be, and then they try that one-upmanship, what we spoke about in point number 2. That might seem fairly sudden, although occasionally it could take multiple instances before they start to behave in a new enhanced way. Either way, whatever is going on between you and them, if we want to try to get them back, this is generally a long game. Okay, they might have reacted to what you were doing by trying to outmaneuver you, but they're still not at the stage of wanting to reconnect. They haven't regrown enough romantic emotional attraction to want to actually be with you. Yes, they're trying to fight fire with fire, but they're not feeling that pull enough to come towards you. This will often happen after many, many months. It's not days, it's not weeks, it's generally not a couple of months. It's normally between 6 to 12 months before it can get to the moment where that level of romantic emotional attraction has hit that high point in their mindset and they feel, I miss my dumpee. You know, whatever's gone on before, whatever gone on during and post since our breakup, I'm now feeling like I really want to speak with them. They might not necessarily instantly know they want to be with you in a romantic relationship again, but they want to reach out. They feel compelled to say hi. And if and when they do, if you regrow through the communication stage that attraction which had been lost, there is no reason at all why you can't get your ex back.